All right, welcome to Just Rhonda. I need to mute my YouTube mic or sound. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for coming. Okay, I think I'm set now. We're going to just have a kind of a light, no heavy, crazy discussions or presentations or anything like that. We're just going to have some chit chat, and I'm hoping that some of you in the chat have come with some questions, because that we're just going to, it doesn't even have to be on any topic in particular in the case or about Daniel, just kind of a, what do they call, I called it, I think, an a la carte. So whatever kinds of questions that you might have, put them in the chat. And I believe if Cherie's really the good one at monitoring the chat for us. So if you can help me watch the chat, that would be great, Cherie. Let me just say hi to everybody. Galataki, thank you so much for coming. And Catnit and Sean, good to see you. Becca and oh, look, Jax is here. and Alice is here too. Wow, that's awesome. So as you guys know, we do have some guests tonight. We have Jack and Susan and Alice. Um, and they all originate from Foul Play, but I am dragging them to learn more about Daniel's case too. Susan has been really interested and done quite a bit of more listening and looking and researching to find out more. And I am appreciative of that. She's what do I turned one friend on at least to paying a little bit of attention to Daniel's case. And Alice, of course, is what is listening to the book, listening along with us. So we'll definitely be hearing from Alice on Thursday when we do our book cast. And Jack just does everything. He monitors and is a mod in Foul Play and TTM for Reddit, and just his research capabilities are out of this world, in my opinion. So I feel like I got a really good group of guests tonight. So with that, I'm going to let Kay and Cherie say hello, and we'll just go from there.
Hello.
Cherie.
Hi, everybody. We have a question already from Becca.
Awesome.
She wants to know, with what happened to Daniel, how does he feel about the police? About police, I mean, in general, I guess she's saying.
Okay. Kay? No, sure. I mean, I know now, but you're definitely more qualified.
Well, oddly enough, and this is so shocking to me, he misses being a police officer. He wants to be a police officer again. He wants his life and his career back. And I mean, he recognizes that there are some bad officers, and I think he recognizes a lot of things from observing what's been going on from a place like he's in. But, you know, he doesn't, he's really protective of his tribe. You know, and I'm not talking about the corrupt officers, but, you know, he still believes in what a police officer should stand for. So definitely not jaded.
It doesn't hurt that they now have body cams and dash cams.
No kidding.
Yeah. So thank you. That was an awesome question, Becca. I appreciate that. I'm going to let, well, everybody's seen Jack on my channel before, and Alice, of course, is on the bookcast on Thursday nights. But I want them to say hello. So, Jack, do you want to say hello to everybody real quick, or whatever?
Hello. Is that quick enough?
Quicker.
Figured you'd be goofy.
you know, just thinking about, doing research and looking into, all this stuff after the fact and knowing what we know, and I'm woefully so far behind in what you guys have done. It's, and for those that out there that have done some research and digging and looking, as well as I do that you'll find something. You're after something, and you go digging, and you have access to certain things, and you go here and you look, and you kind of find maybe a little bit of an answer, but when you're doing that, you find something else that's kind of related to what you're looking for there. So you jot that rabbit hole down. And so now you've got 2 rabbit holes, right? And so then you run off to that rabbit hole you just found, and well, what the hell? You found another fucking rabbit hole that leads off to that one, and it becomes this vicious circle. So what I've tried to do, I'm not always successful, is staying on track, and it's difficult. I get it. It's really hard. Especially, you get onto, I'll give you a prime example. And this just happened, as you guys well know, with these DCI reports that yours and Rookie got. And, the one that caught my eye about this memory card in the back of the RAV. And now this is blown up now into multiple reports, multiple people involved, and questions that can't really fully be answered because we just, we're lacking the information. So now we have this rabbit hole that we can't really leave, but we can't really do anything more with it right now. So, yeah, it's and for Daniel's case, I know about it, but I don't really know about it like you guys. And the issue here is that you have how many defendants? 13, am I right? I know several got dropped. Is it 13? Is that right?
Yes.
Or 13 witnesses, not defendants. So you have, you have 13,
yeah.
And then that's not even really including the aspect of Daniel's end of it, plus the lawyers, plus the freaking prosecutor, and the judge involved. So now you have this case is just it's one of those things that you just kind of look at, for people from the outside without having a MAM kind of thing catalyst to blow it up and get it in front of a lot of people. This case needs a lot of people to divide and conquer, in my opinion. And it needs
really
a catalyst. It needs a real catalyst. It needs, some filmmakers like did MAM. I so wish that they would do it. I'm not saying they ever would. I'm just saying that that's what it needs.
Really does.
Yeah. So.
And Jack and I have had that conversation several times. So
yep.
Yeah. All right. Before I let Alice and Susan say hello, I don't want to miss any questions. And Sean had a question that I want to make sure that we answer. And I'll probably let Kay answer most of the questions. So if that's okay, because she knows more in depth.
I gotta say hi to him, Barry. I'd say he waved there.
I know.
We don't get to see him much because he's busy repairing and doing all the things that he does in his life. Plus he's got real life stuff. So hey there, my friend from way down under.
Yeah. Welcome, Henbury. We're happy to have you here. Yeah, if you get bored with MAM, and in Stephen and Brendan's cases at any point, please come and help us with Daniel's case. It's pretty fascinating. But I know there's still so much to do with Stephen and Brendan, of course. So, all right. Really quick, then, let me go ahead and ask Sean's question. He says, I understand that Daniel has an appeal in the works, which may be due to be heard soon. Is there any feeling among his counsel as to his chances?
Sean, I think any counsel that has been involved in Daniel's case has felt just overwhelmed, probably. I've said this a million times because it's like having 13 cases. But yes, he does have a petition due. I think it's the end of March. And so hopefully the judges at the Oklahoma Supreme Court will actually read the petition instead of just rubber stamping it.
Yeah.
There's no positive attitude about getting any relief from Oklahoma judges. I mean, I'm going to be really honest with you and say that I'll be shocked if he gets relief that way. I feel like his only shot is having conviction integrity units put into place, and I truly feel like that's the key to his release. So we're a long ways away from that, but he is going to get out, and I really feel like that's his path. Was that depressing enough?
Well, I mean, you just have to be real, honestly. It's just a reality, we have to face it and, just never give up though, just like with Stephen and Brendan and, any other number of wrongful conviction cases that we look at. So,
I mean, if secret hearings didn't get him a hearing, then I don't think we can count on Oklahoma judges to give him a break at all.
Yeah. They're pretty, they're very stubborn, or arrogant or cocky or just dirty, grimy, greasy, slimy dickholes, just like in Wisconsin. So probably just, many other state as well, but just the same. Before we get I'm so excited. We have so many questions and I'm loving it. Before we get going into the questions, I want to make sure we give Alice and Susan a chance to say hello. Alice, do you want to say hi to everybody?
Hello, everybody in chat. Thanks for coming. It's nice to see that there's more and more people joining every time.
Yeah, it is. So we've had Dr. Silkman has joined us, and Shaz has joined us. Shaken but not stirred. Welcome. Jinx is here. Gosh, I'm so excited. Thank you guys for coming. Now we have somebody who is pretty much brand new to Daniel's case, but has taken a great interest. So I asked Susan to come on and chat with us tonight. So Susan, would you like to say hello to all of our friends?
Hello, everybody. It's nice to see so many people here. I've been along to a lot of these in the chat for a lot of your broadcasts or whatever, and this is a nice group.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. A great panel and amazing, people in the chat. All of our friends from down under and Scotland and Canada, and I'm so excited. I'm really pleased. So
it's amazing. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for having me, Rhonda.
Oh no, thank you for coming. We want to try to answer as many questions as we can, because like Jack said, this case is, and like we've said, this is like 13 trials. So, or 13 cases. Well, it is 13 cases, and it should have been broken up somehow, but it wasn't. So here we are stuck like this, trying to deal with how we get Sweaty Boy on the show. Well, you know how Sweaty Boy is.
I sure do. I sure do.
Oh, God.
Yeah, just being pretty new to this case and doing, listening to Bates investigates and all of that. It's confusing. It's hard to keep all of these accusers straight, and there's just so much. Oh my gosh.
You almost need a like we talked about before in researching. You almost need a tree, or I don't even know that it would work with the tree kind of format, but you need some type of database where each one of these witnesses is isolated. That's the word I'm looking for, and kept separate. And then you could create your tree where they connect with respect to the evidence or whatever that we have. And what the state says, oh, well, we found, these GPS coordinates that Daniel was here, he was here. And from that aspect, you could kind of begin to formulate what they did, what the state, I mean, in my opinion, they really fabricated. But again, I'm the newbie. You guys know so much more than I do. It's really difficult because just the sheer number of people involved, having all these people in one case. I'm not saying that they should have had, 13 different trials, but you understand it complicates things so greatly.
Yeah. Yep. It sure does. Very much so. And we definitely have had some frustrating, dare I say, times of researching. So, like I said, I'm glad to have Jack trying to help us out a little bit, and Nosy's also been trying to help us out a little bit. And with our limited access to information, it's not easy. So we have to do a lot of digging on our own. So the more help we've been able to get, the better. So Dr. Silkman has a question. What are the weakest aspects DNA-wise for this case?
Well,
Yeah, go ahead, Kay.
I'm not sure how to answer that. I mean, because obviously male DNA wasn't identified by the lab analyst. Male DNA in the sample wasn't identified, or so there was a DNA guy that Scott Adams, the defense attorney, hired. I guess he presented a report from him instead of having him even take the stand. I'm just not sure why all that went down. But
Do you know, Kay, was that male DNA put into CODIS?
I don't know if, I mean, it was a minuscule amount of DNA to start with. I think they had to, okay, if I butcher this, I think they had to amplify it. Does that make sense? If I'm remembering that correctly?
I think so.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Dr. Shulman could answer that better, but that sounds correct, that they have to amplify the DNA to get.
But the problem is, that it was represented to be DNA from, as the prosecutor said in his closing statement, he said that it was DNA from the walls of the vaginal walls of a 17-year-old. But they didn't test for, they didn't do a presumptive test, which they don't do there, but they didn't test for it. So they can't say that it came from, that it's vaginal fluid if they didn't test for it. And the other thing is, the pants didn't have any stains on them. So thinking about the pants and where that DNA on the inside of his zipper originated from, and they're saying it's vaginal fluid, but there's no staining as you would expect to see any kind of fluids associated with sexual contact on his dark pants at all.
And it was a tiny, tiny sample, right?
Tiny sample. So then we had 6 scientists look at it, and they all agreed that it was consistent with touch DNA transfer.
But the jury did not hear that, correct?
No.
Well, and they were,
Well,
the
I
jury
mean-
was told that that was a lie, that it wasn't possible there was no such thing as transfer DNA.
I
So,
feel like I'm not really answering your question, though. I don't really know how to answer that. I mean, the DNA derived from at least 3 people, one being a male. But, Elaine Taylor, for whatever reason, just didn't identify male DNA in the sample. So, and then the judges wouldn't accept the amicus brief from the scientist. So the court really wasn't accepting anything that would have been exculpatory for Holtzclaw at all.
I think the DNA was so damning because it was misrepresented by the
Right.
prosecution,
exactly.
and the jury didn't understand DNA. All they heard was it came from her vaginal walls.
Right.
And
Well, I
that,
mean, yeah, research shows that jurors often overvalue DNA evidence. I mean, and you can, from listening to Kim and Rocky talk, they get so excited but we had the DNA. So,
yeah,
I mean, it had to be a nefarious kind of thing, I guess.
that's right. Sorry,
Well,
I kicked somebody
they
out. I
didn't-
shared.
They didn't really explain, or well, I mean, it's one of the common themes that we see. It was misrepresented, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And so, and then when this prosecutor comes along in his closing and say DNA was found from her vaginal fluids on Daniel's pants. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And just made it so dirty.
Well, yeah, but we all know that if that was the case, it would have been visible with probably with the naked eye, but even with alternate light, they would have seen something, and they didn't. But just total misrepresentation to the jury.
It's just flat out lies. It's not even about misrepresentation. It was just a flat out bald-faced lie, and Galen Giger knew it. So, yeah.
And
I mean, she didn't even test the pants with an alternate light source. I mean, how easy would that be?
She didn't. She didn't.
No.
I was thinking she didn't. Oh my God.
No. She said, I used a bright light in my office and a magnifying glass.
So she didn't even use any kind of black light or some kind of alternate lighting that's standard.
No, because she's, I don't know why. She did on other cases.
Well, I'm just so cynical, and you guys all know this about me. I'm just so cynical that just the same way I feel about Sherry Culhane. They say that they did all these things, and they say that we have these reports, and they say all these wonderful things, but how do we know it to be true? We don't know it to be true. And Elaine Taylor's son-in-law is Rocky Gregory, who tainted, most likely or possibly tainted, the only piece of evidence that they collected from Daniel. So I will not believe that they did not have communication about that pair of pants. I don't believe there was not some sort of talk about how to handle that pair of pants and what they expected to gain from it.
I mean, I'm surprised that Daniel's lawyers never pushed that any further, though. The simple fact is he's putting his bare hand in an evidence bag. So that's contamination. I mean, did he have any experts at all?
No, just the one.
I mean, I've said it before, Alice. When that prosecutor said that, that DNA came from that was on there was from the vaginal walls of whatever that witness was. Why that lawyer didn't just burst into flames right there? Because it was never, that was evidence, statement not in evidence or whatever, however you word that.
Right.
There was nothing ever presented at trial about that, ever.
I'm thinking he may have said that in rebuttal. You know, they have the last word.
That's right. It was in his closing. That's right. It was in his closing.
Yep.
In the
And
rebuttal, yeah.
I know
I mean,
that, you know, they allow him a lot of latitude, but come on.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the same with the crats with the sweat DNA, which there's no such thing as sweat DNA. You know what I mean? So it's another version of that. It's just an out and out lie to try and get the jury more on their side and more sympathetic. But what about poor Daniel? You know what I mean? He never had really bad conduct or anything like that. He was good at his job. He got results. And then this happens to him.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's there. I mean, there. You know, we can find all sorts of theories about, you know, why was it Daniel? Why Daniel? Why not somebody else? What was going on? And, you know, there's all sort. Those are just rabbit holes again. That, trust me, we're some of them we might even be stuck in to certain degrees. So, you know, it's just astounding what they get away with. And just reading the police reports that we have access to, that you can get access to in Brian Bates's podcasts, at least up to, gosh, I think Kayla Lyles is the last one that he's got put out. But you can really read some of those police reports, and you can just, if you just a little bit of time reading through those and looking at just times and who signed them and who approved them and at what time and on what day, and you just start comparing, you know, Kim and Rocky's police reports against one another, and you can start finding little things that you're like, wait, that's not what that was supposed to say, or that's not what they said before, or that's not what Kim said about it. And so you know, it's just it's always something, that little lies you can pick up on for sure, inconsistencies, I guess. um and Shaken But Not Stirred says, and meanwhile, an officer that was going around assaulting women was allowed to continue and still serving on the force, as far as I know. So yes, you're absolutely right, Shaken. Now, T1 has a question. Is Daniel Holtzclaw seeking ineffective assistance of counsel in his appeal? He not. Well, go ahead, Kay. Please.
I think so.
He did in the was it the direct appeal? He did.
Yes, he did in the direct appeal. I anticipate that in this.
Yeah, I'm sure there would. I can't imagine that he wouldn't be seeking that. But again, I'm what the hell do I know? So, you know, we just assume, you know, what we think, what little bit, you know, some of us know about the law. Well, with the exception of Cherie, she knows quite a bit about it. But it just seems like a kind of a, we don't know, but we can assume, I suppose, is the best way to answer it.
We'll know next month.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yes, March something, I guess.
I think.
And can anything be done about this secret hearing that happened? That Daniel's defense lawyers and that weren't even involved in, which I completely don't understand how that happened as well. I mean, is that getting looked into?
Now,
I mean, they've already tried to address it once, and it just got shot down. So, I mean, this is what I'm talking about not being able to get any relief because you're dealing with people who are going to uphold who are going to protect the conviction. You know that all of those people, if they weren't directly involved in this, they see what's going on now. It's obvious who was involved.
Right.
I can't imagine, even being the governor and thinking what a mess it would be if you tried to untangle all these wrongful convictions. How broke would your state be?
Right.
I mean, we're already broke, but
Well, and when you consider that Oklahoma has, I believe, one of the highest rates of death row inmates for sure, or at least it used to, but Oklahoma has an exorbitant amount of men and probably women in prison who are dedicated to their innocence and refusing. And we know of some. We know about Julius Jones. Is it? Gosh, who's the other guy? Oh my gosh, Nosey's been working on it. But anyway, it's not just Daniel. There are a lot of men in prison who, have been wrongfully convicted. So when you think about that, just the few that we're aware of, who knows? We know during Joyce Gilchrist's tenure that there were several men on death row for crimes they did not commit. And some of those men were executed, and their innocence wasn't proven until they were already executed. And so it's disgusting. It's horrible. It's inhumane, and it's somebody has got to shake up, just like in Wisconsin with the Wisconsin DOJ. There's got to be some sort of a federal level of fixing what's going on in Oklahoma as well. Dr. Silkman says this case has strong racial overtones about it. Daniel Holtzclaw appears to be the sacrificial lamb to appease racial tensions at the time. Strange that fellow officers would condemn one of their own. You're absolutely right, Dr. Silkman. That's what we believe.
That was a question I had a few weeks ago, if you remember, Rhonda and Kay and Cherie, that I was curious as to was there some event, or maybe even more than one event, that happened with Daniel within the department that he was so vilified, or they were like, we're going to get this guy, wait and see, just bide your time. Something, because I just don't get it.
I think his name just kept coming up. His name came up obviously in the Armstrong case where the mentally ill guy died while they were trying to take him into custody, and I think he was the third or fourth officer on the call. He arrived 15 or 20 minutes after the first officer. So there was a civil suit, which all of the officers ended up getting dropped from the civil suit. And then I don't really know what happened, but I think it was his mother that brought the suit.
Yes.
She ended up dropping the suit. So that suit went away. So his name came up there.
His name is memorable also.
Right.
Yes.
And he's also, he's a pretty intimidating guy if he doesn't open his mouth.
Right. He's a big, well-built, muscled up guy that, he takes care of himself and works out, and, he's just an imposing character.
He is. But then when he opens his mouth and starts talking to you, he's this sweet, kind
teddy bear
guy. So we had that. And then Terry Morris, the 911 call with Terry Morris, when her ex-boyfriend called the cops because she was destroying his car, and she drops when she realizes that the cops are coming. She says, "You're gonna call the same MFers that raped me?" So cops get there, and you know, she immediately decides to disclose her rape allegations. So this is May 25th, 24th, I get May 24th. And she says that she was raped a few days before, so the 20th or 21st. But when she reports that on a Friday or Saturday, Rocky Gregory gets assigned to it. So on the following Monday, he pulls up the records to see which police officers had had contact with her. And Holtzclaw had contact with her on May 8th, which wasn't 2 days before. I mean, it's 3 weeks before. So they knew that it couldn't be him. And then Jeff Sellers had contact with her the end of April. So here's the second time Holtzclaw's name came up. So we've got someone who dies while being taken into protective custody. Then we have a Black woman making allegations of rape against a white police officer. And we already had several incidents of use of force that Daniel had self-reported. So it doesn't matter if someone else reports them or you self-report, they get investigated the same. So his name was coming up over and over again. And I just wonder if they didn't feel like, you know,
we got to throw somebody under the bus and show everybody we're not. Yeah.
Maybe, you know, kill two birds with one stone or whatever. But
here's the thing that really irritates me, and what you were saying right there. So Ellis is mad at her boyfriend and destroying his car. Mm-hmm. She knows she's probably going to get arrested for doing that. Whatever. I don't know what. I mean, I don't know what her record was at the time, but so the cops are coming to probably arrest her for destruction of property, and all of a sudden she's got a rape allegation. So she deflects. So she gets to deflect, you know, the shit that she's doing, and Daniel gets drug into it, you know, eventually, whatever.
That's a good point. We were looking at the women who ended up in a better situation because of reporting.
Yeah.
You know, like Sherry Ellis, she was having an affair. She wanted to get out of a long-term relationship, and she used this. I mean, I say she used this. This happened, and she was able, through the sympathy of what she said happened to her, she was able to gain sympathy from the common law husband that she was leaving, and she ends up marrying the guy that she was having an affair with. So her situation improved that way. Rosetta Great, she's in jail. She gives them the allegations that they want. Her situation improves. Trying to think who else. Rhonda, Cherie, can you guys think?
Well, pretty much. I mean, really, Jamie Liggins for sure. You know, not that she had charges, because she didn't really have the same things in common that the other girls did, but Adara Gardner for sure, at least as far as her future crimes would be committed. You know, I think we talked about this recently, but I'm really excited to get back to the accuser's timeline, because when we get to Adara Gardner, we're going to be having lots of crazy fun, because she has a lot of charges that have just been wiped away, just disappeared, dismissed, or whatever, since Daniel was convicted.
See, and isn't that illegal? Promises of something in order to get illicit, you know, somebody that's in jail. Isn't that illegal in Oklahoma? I mean, I know it is.
I mean, they haven't admitted that they gave. I think the one time, and I'm not sure where I saw this addressed, but I think the one time that I heard Kim Davis say something about it. She denied giving any favors and just said that, you know, if the DA was going to offer them, if the DA's office was going to offer them treatment, then, you know, that didn't really have anything to do with her. And
Well, that was another one that I know that I listened to, at least part of. One of the witnesses, they were, you know, she was anxious to get into, you know, treatment facility, and Kim Blinker was just talking about, you know, getting her into this place, you know, getting her a spot, and you know, we'll take care of it, and blah blah blah. And I'm thinking to
We'll see
myself,
what I can do.
yeah, I mean, this is a cop sitting there, the detective, that I don't know how she could possibly do anything. I mean, she can tell people how to rub one out, but other than that, I hate to be crude like that. I swear to God, every damn time I think about Blinker,
Oh my God.
she's talking about Daniel's junk, and that god awful interview when she's talking about, well, wouldn't you do it this way? And I don't think I would do.
Maybe she was going home to have some fantasies that night, Jack.
I don't know, but there are so many instances you hear her talking about Daniel, and I swear to God, it's almost every time she talks about his junk in one way or another, or he's looking at someone, you know, one of these defendants or these witnesses' breast or something. You know, it's always something sexual in relation to Daniel to someone. It's just, I don't know, it's creepy. But I do have a question.
Maybe she tried to flirt with him, and he told her to fuck off, you blinking cow.
Well, that's possible. I do have a question though for you know, Kay and Rhonda and Cherie. Maybe you can answer, maybe you can't. But you guys have an idea, or does anyone, for that matter, have an idea of an actual total amount of police reports from the Oklahoma City Police or any agency that was involved? Do we know? For
What do
sure.
you mean? How many reports? Or
Police
just
reports.
plus supplements?
Police reports. Everything that really involves Daniel, as in police reports from these various agencies. Do we have an actual count, or is there still some we don't know?
Well, as far as just the OCRs, there's definitely 13 of those with the 13 accusers, but the supplements that go with those, some of them are just pages, you know, 30, 40, 50, 80, 100 pages. And, you know, those are supplements to, you know, any given accuser. You know, like for Adaira Gardner, for instance, she had 3 other supplemental, I think it was 3 or 4. So there were 4, I don't want to say witnesses, but 4 people involved. The 2 people that were with her when she got stopped the first time that night, that Daniel patted them all 3 down, ran all 3 of them for warrants. That's where the male, because that was on June 17th, that's where the male, you know, unknown male DNA, whether it's Daniel's or the that guy's or somebody else's, Rocky Gregory's, you know, we don't know that, but so there's that guy's, you know, interview that goes to her report, and then so Face and Chocolate, those go to her report, and the guy around the corner goes to her report, and so there's so many different ones. So I have no idea how many reports there are and how many supplemental pages go into each report. Just
so basically, you're telling me that let's just say a report gets created on this incident, event, whatever, and then from that, what they do is create a bunch of supplements that follow. Does that sound right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Instead of creating a new report, it's a supplement to the original report.
Yeah, they add to it. Yep. Well, for each accuser.
For each accuser, yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty much. That's why it's really hard to get through some of their OCRs or their police reports, because there are so many supplemental ads. So what they do is, for instance, I'll try to just put this in a nutshell if I can. They create a report. Let's just go with Adara Gardner. They create the report, write everything that they have, all the information they have, all the interviews or witnesses that go with hers, but they can leave that open and add to it. As you know, as they get more in a honest police department, as they get more evidence and more witnesses or more, whatever, they add to it. They leave it open and they add to it. But once they close that and submit it, they can't add to it anymore. So if they did need to add to it, then they would have to start a new report. It wouldn't be a supplemental part.
So basically, they leave the report open and they can just continue to add to it.
Yes. Yep.
Wow.
As long as they don't submit it for approval to the supervisor. Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's
T1 has an interesting question there. I'll let you guys go.
T1 always has interesting questions. Personal question about Daniel Holtzclaw's junk. Did Daniel ever use steroids and possibly deal with issues around his junk not performing? And if so, is there any medical records or purchases on this problem? Purchases? I don't believe he used steroids. I know that he used supplements. Like the stuff that you buy at GNC or the different stores like that. And he worked out. He used the supplements that were available legally, of course, and certainly worked out a lot. So,
I mean, the size that Daniel was, that's easy enough to get. We just eating the right sorts of foods, taking the right proteins, and everything like that. I was a bodybuilder. Well, my dad was a bodybuilder, and they had their own club, and I got into the bodybuilding as well. And I was a bodybuilder from I was 10 to I was about 13. Done competitions and things like that. And my dad used to eat the raw eggs and take the brewer's yeast and things like that. And she went for competitions and they could do it in months. I mean, they weren't as big as what Daniel was, right? I mean, Daniel's big because he's worked at it. And you can get like that without steroids or anything like that. So that's one thing I can say. I don't think he's the sort like that and take steroids. I think that's all just sheer hard work that he's done.
That's interesting because, I mean, I don't know how they do it, at the Oklahoma City Police, but, he would be taking a pretty good risk if they drug test there on randomly. I don't know that they do that.
They probably would.
I don't know. Police unions are pretty, I don't know what they would have in place that would prevent that, but.
Somewhere in my reading and watching videos, I did see that Daniel said he never did take steroids, but they were very strict, during the football time he was on football. And that he talked about all the supplements that he took, but he said he didn't ever take steroids.
They were drug tested. He was on a scholarship when he played at Michigan. And so they were drug tested all the time. So he never took steroids.
Right.
No, it didn't look like a steroid body that Daniel had. I mean, especially when I seen he's building that when he took his shirt and that off and he's interviewing that. I mean, it looked, because you can tell if somebody's been using steroids compared to somebody who's natural,
Yeah. I believe you actually hear that in his interrogation. He plain flat denies that he uses steroids. Rocky tries to, I don't know, bully him or whatever you want to call it. Not that he's much of a bully. I just think he's a bully. He's a dickhole. He's a lot of ugly things, but he tried to get Daniel, come on, are you sure you don't, what is it that you take? So,
well, wouldn't they have taken his blood? I mean, like almost immediately after they arrested him, they would have known right away if he was a steroid user. I mean, come on. All
I
I got
think,
to do, all I got to do is pull the hair out of him and test it. It would have shown if he had steroids in his body.
Yep.
yeah, I don't really think that they were worried about that. I think they knew better.
Just to slur it out though, make it salacious. And,
Yeah, they just,
Well,
yeah.
get it in the press, get that in the press.
sure.
Speculation that he raged and did those things. But the fact of the matter is, he was a 27-year-old guy with a really high sex drive, which now we all get to know about things that people should never know about him. It's unfortunate that his whole everything that's personal is exposed.
Aye. It's
Well,
all
that's what they want. I mean, that's what they're looking for is to, to expose
humiliate.
someone's personal life, yeah, and then try to use that against him in
Well,
some
to make
salacious way.
Yeah, to make that seem dirty that a 27-year-old has a high sex drive, give me a break.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
makes him sound perverted because he's normal. But she's a woman and she knows what that's like, and she wouldn't like that very much.
she wouldn't like that very much. If someone woke me up in the middle of the cold, climbing up on me in the middle of the night, and I know because I'm a woman.
Yeah, all women are like that. Yeah.
Oh, you're really good at that, Kay. You're really good at that.
She's so dumb. I've heard her voice way too much.
Yeah.
Did Blinker actually say that?
Oh,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
I missed
It's
that.
a pretty close quote, but
Yeah.
That's when
yeah.
she came in on him and said, "You lied to me because your
Aye.
girlfriend said that you didn't try to have sex with her when you got home."
No, that's right. That's exactly right. And
I mean,
I'm
you
a
could see
woman,
it.
and
You
Go
could
ahead.
see in Daniel's face when they were asking me questions. I mean, especially coming from her. You know what I mean? To him, that would be like his mother asking me fucking questions. You know what I mean? And he's like, well, what are you fucking, what are you talking about? You know what I mean?
yeah, it's
And
gross.
she calls his girlfriend out of the blue and says, "Did Daniel try and have sex with you when he came home?"
Yeah,
Like,
Exactly.
what the fuck?
Exactly. If I had a phone call that late at night or whatever with some bitch phoning me and saying, "Did your boyfriend try and have sex with you last night?" I would be like, "Who the fuck are you? Like, and what do you want to know that for?" You know what I mean?
yeah, I know what you mean, Alice. I know what you mean.
Well,
Yeah,
this comes back to again the quality of the investigators, and I hate to do a comparison, but let's talk about Kim Davis, and you get what I'm saying, Susan. Kim
Yeah.
Davis and Rocky, in comparison to the Uyghurs and Fassbenders and some of these others. Not everyone's
they're all fucking idiots. Is that what you're saying?
Well, basically, I mean, but
Yeah.
they're making a choice to do this. These are police officers that can say to their superior that hands them a case. They can say, now they may face a little bit of wrath over it. They can say, "Fuck you! I'm not taking this case because you're an idiot." What are you doing? They have a choice, and I get it. They're not going to fire them over it. They're going to hand it off to sweet talk someone else into taking the case. But at the same time, look at let's just take a for instance here. When Wiegert and Fassbender are interviewing Brendan on March 1st, and they leave the room after they've done the damage, they let Barb come in, and he's automatically recanting what he said. What do? They run back into the damn room because they know what they've done.
Yeah.
It's this quality of investigator that's involved, and they're the face of it. I don't care what anyone says. These two are the face of that whole Holtzclaw investigation. They always will be in my eyes.
Yeah,
Definitely.
T1, he did. They talked to his girlfriend Carrie, and they talked to former girlfriends, and they all said that the sex life was normal. So there's no indication anywhere that he was having problems, that any of the supplements were causing him to not be able to get an erection. So his gun wasn't broken.
Oh, Jesus.
Or are you trying to say that the lead in his pencil was fine?
Yeah, the lead was fine, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm glad we can all have fun at Daniel's expense.
God, huh? Poor guy.
I have another question for really Susan and Alice, and then you guys can chime in if there's no other questions in front. I don't want to jump in front of anybody in the chat.
Go ahead.
Well, for Susan and Alice, and you guys can fight over who answers first. You're relatively, let's say, I'm with you in a lot of ways in this, but as you look at the whole Sklar case, what are your top 3 things that are the worst about the case? And you don't have to go into a lot of detail if you don't want, but the top 3 things that you see as the worst aspects of the case.
Susan, go ahead first.
Okay. Well, the fact that, and there's so many accusers, but the fact that a couple of them, described him as a black man. I mean, okay.
Agree.
Okay. Go ahead, Alice. My mind just went
Yeah,
blank.
that was kind of gotcha. Yeah, it's okay. All right, Alice, what you got?
There's that fucking many. The investigation. I mean, that was a total crock of shit to begin with. The cops themselves, the fucking Blinky and dipshit. Their investigation was just non-existent. And for me, I think it was the sentencing. It was just 263 years is just ridiculous. It is ridiculous. It's not like he's only lived for 263 years. You know what I mean? If he does, I want whatever he's having.
Right.
Yeah, the way the investigation was done, how they back engineered it.
Thank you.
Just
That
absolutely ridiculous.
That was my number 2, because they went hunting, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm also really curious about Janie Liggins and her motive, and what caused her to do that. And I'm also curious, I wonder if possibly she was stopped by someone else that same night when it happened.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, whatever happened with her, I don't know if she fell asleep over there and she was supposed to be home long ago. They said that she took her boyfriend to work at 4 something every morning. So, here she is at 2:05, 2:20, just leaving a traffic stop. I think she probably went home. I think she probably exaggerated what happened at the traffic stop to her daughter, and I think her daughter probably went off. I just feel like the daughter's involved in it some way, but
and I wonder how involved she is in the Black Lives Movement, and pissed off that she was stopped, and I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, just the timing of that once again was that wasn't the first. She's hearing about all this violence on Black women from white police officers going on around the country, and then her mom comes in with this story, whatever the story was.
Right.
I just think she got pissed off, and maybe I don't know which one of them would have had the financial motivation first, if that was a high motivator in the beginning, but
Yeah.
Could
I
very
mean-
well have been.
it's
Yeah.
hard to know.
I mean, who was it? I can't remember the name. Who was it that had went home and told their ma that they just got pulled over by a cute cop?
Adara,
It's Adara.
There we go.
Right.
17-year-old.
I mean,
The one that denied it how many
hot
times?
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, if Daniel had pulled me over, if I was a driver and Daniel pulled me over, I would be like, oh, ho, look at him, here we go, you know what I mean? I'd be like, yes, you can pull me over any day, son. You know? But
Oh my gosh.
if he assaulted me in any way, there's no way I'd be going home and going, oh, I was pulled over by a cute cop, but he sexually assaulted me. You know, it just wouldn't it wouldn't be like that. Whereas if I got pulled over by Daniel, oh, I'd be going home and telling everybody, here, you should have seen this cop I got pulled over with.
You wouldn't forget, Daniel, if you
No.
were.
Yeah.
I mean, I like I said last week, I remember every place I've ever been pulled over.
Absolutely.
Me
and
too.
every time I pass that place, I think, oh yeah, when I was 16 and I got my license, I got a speeding ticket right there.
Yeah.
From Oklahoma Highway Patrol or from Crescent Local Police. You know, you don't.
Of course, you know, with these women, they've been pulled over a lot.
Mhm.
So I can see how they might get confused.
Well,
Right.
but some of, I mean, we see how often they were pulled over.
Yeah.
See that, and some of them, it's, you know, it's not out of bounds to think that they would remember.
Right.
Right. The third thing that really bothers me is this DNA business.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's,
What's
it was
frustrating?
just so misrepresented. And
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
I mean, he got a lot of time for that. And, you know, it's just so
And-
wrong.
And juries put so much weight into it these days, as
Yeah.
someone said earlier, that there's like, oh, well, if that little gal's DNA was on his zipper, guilty. He's over. He's done.
Yeah.
Another thing that you said, Susan, that really stuck with me, and I don't remember the interview that we watched, or at least I caught part of it. Kim Davis is interviewing her, and it was the one that she was talking about getting into treatment. And she says, I'm gonna leave the room. I'll leave the door open so you don't feel claustrophobic for some reason after all this freaking time. But she comes back and says, she was talking about how dark this cop was that
Yeah.
Daniel. That's what was leading.
This was Sherry Ellis.
Okay, and so she says, what do you consider yourself dark wise? And didn't she say something like medium, something like that?
Yeah.
And she said that this cop was darker than her. At that point right there, Kim Davis knows that's not Daniel. She knows it's not Daniel.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And she did not stop
It did not faze her.
at all.
Nope.
No. Nope. She just didn't even drop a beat, went right on to the next. You're right.
Mhm.
Quality of the investigator.
Yeah.
But also quality of the one who done the testing in the first place, because she was trained by that fucking Gilchrist.
That's true.
You know, so her bad habits, she would have been teaching her to do it this way and that way and everything. So then the wee bitch becomes the super bitch, you know, and starts messing about with the evidence. It's,
I just call her Dr. Death or something, because my God.
Right. Yeah.
I think Silkman, I think Culhane and Taylor are related some way.
In some way.
Yeah.
There's got to be some relation. I know there's so much to compare.
Probably they operate on the same freaking wavelength somehow, and then they're connected.
Same training.
Yeah. That's right. Oh, God. Yeah, it's there's just so much, it's hard to pick just three things to, that really stick out. It's
I think how creative their probable cause or the affidavit when they were trying to get arrest warrants, they just leave out everything exculpatory.
yeah.
Like Terry Morris, for instance, I just told you guys how that went down and that she reported on May 24th that it happened a day or two earlier. None of that is in the report. By the time they write a report for his arrest on her, they say, on May 8th, an investigation began in the sex crimes unit in reference to the above named defendant, an Oklahoma City police officer sexually assaulting different women. During the investigation, Rocky Gregory spoke with victim Terry Morris, who advised she was sexually assaulted by the above named defendant. Morris advised she was stopped by this police officer while she was walking at 2700 North Lindsay. The defendant placed her in his car and took her to the 700 block of Northeast 24th, where he put his penis inside her mouth. Okay. May 8th? I mean, they don't mention anything that she actually said when she reported this.
Right.
They are using some of the facts from a story that they got from her once she mysteriously ended up in the county jail because she wouldn't be a part of the case.
Right. That
Somehow changed her mind real quick, and she remembered where Holtzclaw's car went that day over there. They didn't pull up the AVL and help her with anything, they said. He told every turn of where he took her, which is bullshit. I mean, Rocky Gregory got caught at trial lying about pulling up a map for her so they could coach her with the map. He got busted at trial lying about that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Like it doesn't matter, but
yeah, it didn't matter.
It mattered.
Yeah.
I think all these dirty cases, they know they have a lot of things to overcome, turning a 6'2", 260-pound white guy into a short black guy. They have all these things to overcome, but they know that if they can just get through the trial and get to the end, it's not really going to matter about the things that don't make sense because, hey, we have an answer for everything. The first time that blonde hair gets mentioned, Captain Clifton says he clears that up so there'll never be another question about it.
That was Janie Liggins, wasn't it? Didn't she say he was blonde?
Yeah, yes. She said he was blonde, which, there's no question that he stopped her. He doesn't deny stopping any of these women.
Right.
There's no question that he was with her that night, but she wasn't paying attention to him during the traffic stop. Let's just give him 100% benefit of the doubt that none of this stuff happened. She was messed up. She was tired. She had been asleep. She had been hitting off a couple joints. He thinks that she had been drinking. he felt like he smelled it when she was in the back of the car.
Right.
You know, but all of these things, they didn't matter.
Yeah. You know what, T1, that is a really good point. And I just now, when I read that from you, I just now, for the first time, I thought it makes sense that they couldn't have investigated Alexander Edwards, the black cop, because they can't take to trial all these black women who've been assaulted by a cop who's black. They can't do that. They just can't do that.
It exploded the city, and they knew it.
Yes, exactly. So you know what? That is a thing I'm going to start digging into a little bit now.
But to be clear, Alexander Edwards had not committed his crimes yet.
Right.
That happened after Daniel was convicted.
That's right. But he was not investigated at
Yeah,
all.
I mean, if they would have pulled his records from which, I'm trying to think which accuser it was, where was it Regina Copeland, where Alexander Edwards was within a mile? I can't
Sure
remember
was.
which accuser it was. Don't quote me on Regina Copeland.
I
But
thought it was Sherry
one.
Ellis. Wasn't it Sherry Ellis?
Man, I don't have that in my head right now.
Yeah, yeah. We're pretty buried in. If anybody's got any extra carrots in cold storage or anything, we could use them because we don't really stop very much for food.
A lot of wabbit holes.
That's a lot of rabbit holes. Yes.
That's a great question, Dr. Silman, because that's what I'm wanting to know. What vendetta? What were they after? Why did they choose Daniel? But Galataki, and I'm a little biased here because everybody knows he's my son, our second oldest. He's interested in the case, but he doesn't really understand the overall. So I can give him a brief synopsis, or one of y'all can. Doesn't matter to me.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. Knock yourself out, Jack.
Well, basically, Daniel Holtzclaw was a Oklahoma City police officer that he's a patrol officer. He'd been in some other units. I think he was in the drug gang unit. Is that right?
The gang unit, yeah.
Yep. And anyway, he was a patrol officer, and he had worked 12-hour shift, I guess, and he was on his way home. He was clocked out, going home. He was tired, whatever, but he seen Janine Liggins. Is that right?
Janie. Yep.
Yeah. And I don't know the circumstances of why he stopped, but
Swerved.
Whatever.
Swerved.
Yeah, she swerved. Is that right?
That's right.
And he pulled her over. And but he had I guess there had been incidents with her before. She has a pretty lengthy police record, but
not her.
No.
Not Janie Liggins. The initial accuser. Well, I mean, they're trying to say Terry is the initial accuser, and everyone else had a lengthy record except for the initial accuser, Janie Liggins.
Janie Liggins had a suspended license for over 30 years. Was her biggest crime at that point. So
she had been arrested for some possession with intent, I think, in the 80s, but they didn't end up filing charges on her.
Well, it was Ellis that he pulled over, is that right?
Liggins.
Liggins. Yeah.
And this stop was captured by a really grainy a video from some building, wasn't it?
Right.
Yep.
It's pretty bad, but anyway, he let him go. He didn't. I don't even think did. He even file a report at that time. He didn't. Did he even call it in?
He didn't run her or anything.
He had turned his computer off a few blocks away from the station. As at trial, they showed that was a normal occurrence for him. He was kind of in the routine of shutting his computer down on his way home at about the same place every time within a block or two.
Anyway, he lets her go. and he goes on home. Now, I don't remember who made the original accusation, and they went back and found this. Was it Liggins?
She made a couple hours later. She made the accusation.
So, anyway,
And she accused him of making her give him a blowjob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, they open up an investigation, and these two detectives, Kim Davis, which I call Blinker, everybody does, Blinky, whatever, and Rocky Gregory, which we call Bullwinkle, get assigned to the case. And I guess Rocky Gregory already had some things going. I don't know that aspect of it, but regardless, they get assigned this case, and they literally go backwards in time to all these different women that Daniel Holtzclaw had some contact with in his daily patrol cycle, and they elicit these allegations of some kind of sexual assault that allegedly that Daniel did, whatever the case may be. And so they build this case against Daniel during this highly racial time. I think by the time trial came around, Ferguson was well en route, and it was blowing up like crazy. I think the Eric Garner thing in New York had already happened. It was a very racial time. And anyway, they went after him. But there were a lot of things that happened along the way that are really they feel corrupted. They look corrupted. Both before trial and in the pre-trial, during trial, there were things that said, like we've talked about, this prosecutor saying that the DNA found on his zipper, which was a very minute amount anyway, came from this one witness's vaginal walls, which was never said at trial. It was never scientifically presented at all. And it just it's crazy. And then post-trial, I mean, like Al said, he's got 263 years, I guess, in front of him. And and then, post-trial, secret meetings with the judge that's parte. The defense is not allowed to be involved. It's crazy. It's absolutely it's nuts.
And not recording interviews.
Yeah.
That's another thing. They didn't. Kim Davis says she doesn't know how to operate a freaking recorder, and here she is, a multi-year detective, and she can't turn on a record. She can't record anything on her smartphone.
Yeah, on her phone. She doesn't know how to do it on the phone.
Yeah. And then she says, we're not allowed to use our phones.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We're not allowed to use our phones, but then another time you say you tried to use your phone. Okay.
Exactly. She says she doesn't know how to work her phone, and then they use a phone to record an interview. What the
I tried to use my phone, but it didn't work. Oh wait, a phone that you're not supposed to use? Okay.
She's one of these people that you can just see the lie on her face when she's lying.
I know.
It's so obvious.
Oh, Susan, well, you should watch the other interview. I think it's done by 2020. And I swear to God, me and Rhonda have spoken about this before. But she does not blink half as much as what she does in that interview that she done with Michelle Malkin. And because she's kind of in control in a sense, whereas the Michelle Malkin, she was under pressure. So for Galataki, the best place I think you should go to learn a bit more about it is the Michelle Malkin interview.
Daniel in the Den.
Daniel in the Den. Yeah.
There's actually an extended version of an uncut version of that interview that's, obviously has a lot more information in it than they were able to put in the two-part documentary
of Michelle Malkin's interview. Is there really?
Yeah.
I think Katniss also put it in the chat too.
Oh, the extended version one?
Yes.
Okay.
It's like 2 hours long. it actually, here's the thing, when you get to that, when we get that link up for you guys, when you start watching that, it's when Michelle Malkin is going to interview just the detectives. It's not mixed with any Daniel and the Den stuff. It's just the two of them. And so you see the interview begins right when Michelle Malkin and her crew walk in and they're doing makeup, and there's just some idle chit chat, and they're miking everybody and fixing hair and all those things. And then it's about a good 6 or 7 minutes, I believe, before the interview actually starts, and you can see the transformation in Kim Davis's eyes and face from normal idle chit chat to realizing once this interview gets started that, oh Jesus, this is not what we thought it was going to be, and we're being attacked here, and oh my God, I can't keep my eyes still anymore. You need to watch it. It's phenomenal. So, and I know we've got it in our Discord somewhere, but we can find it and make sure we get it right up front so that you guys can check it out there. Or, if we get the link in the chat again, we can, you can click on the link. But then do that, watch that, and then, take a couple of days of a rest and a reprieve and get your stomach back in order because it's disgusting. But then watch the 2020 show, what the dash cam didn't show. And you can see the difference in Kim Davis's eyes versus, when she's in control of the interview and when she's not in control of the interview. Now, that's just my theory. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, but that's how I see it. So it's pretty interesting to watch. But yeah, so Galataki, I would start, like they suggested, start with Daniel in the Den, part 1 and part 2, and then have your dad help you, find the podcasts and stuff from Brian Bates to go with. It can give you a whole lot more information than what we can give you here. In a much more organized manner than what we've been, what I've been able to do.
And he'll understand what we're saying when we say blinker.
Yeah.
Let him figure that out on his own. Let him be disgusted all by himself.
Yeah. I mean, it's not only that, it's when it comes to the video, the so-called video, security video that has came over this building, and they say that you can see Daniel in that in it. Can you fuck? You see a set of headlights. That's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If that's Daniel, I'd like to know where the fucking lights are coming from. Is he pulling down his phone or like, give me a minute? You know what I mean? It's just fucking ridiculous what they've said about that video because it's a set of fucking headlights and that's it.
Yeah.
I played some of your comments for Daniel yesterday. I wish I would have taken a picture of his face when he was listening to you.
Really?
Yeah, he was really enjoying it.
Well, that's good. That's good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Oh my God.
All right. I think we've had she is very speedy, Cherie. That's exactly right. If you don't have your thumb on the button, you're too late. She's already got you down. So.
Oh, did she already find it?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. She's been posting it throughout the chat tonight. So yeah. And so. T1, yeah, we would all be drunk within moments. Wouldn't take very long at all.
Yeah.
Fun new drinking game. Oh God, yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, are there any other questions, Mike? You guys have been great tonight, by the way. Chat. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
I'd just like to bring Jack up to speed on something. It's Rocky and Blinkwinkle.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rocky. I've heard that one too.
Yeah. Sorry.
I can't remember who I first heard someone call Kim Davis Blinker. I damn near fell out.
I want to say did Linda start that?
I think it was
I think
Linda.
it was.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
it was.
I think it was Linda that started the
think
blink,
she did.
blink, blink call.
Yeah.
She said that in the call on the Foul Play Discord, and I damn near died because I had made comment about every time she was answering a question, she would blink, 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 blink. It drove me nuts. Not normal people don't talk that. And I mean, she's got an eye condition. You know, I'll take back every word I've ever said, but as far as I know, she doesn't.
No,
She has
No, no.
She has a eye condition.
In control.
It's called a tell.
Yeah.
It's called a what?
A tell.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh.
she'd be shit at playing poker, I tell you.
What were we watching yesterday? Oh, we were watching. She was getting an award.
Oh God, yeah.
Early in her career, she found a little girl in the middle of the street with no shoes, and she took the little girl bought the little girl some shoes or whatever. So our local news station does this pay it forward thing where they give someone $400 to give to someone who has influenced their lives or whatever, who is worthy or needs the money. So this girl, who's an adult now, gives the $400 to Kim. So we were watching that news story, and of course Kim tried to cry, like the sentimental cry, and she couldn't make it happen. She just couldn't make it happen. It's so awkward.
Yeah, we were really, it was disgusting. It was hard to watch because it was so gross.
But her eyes weren't blinking because she was in control. Her eyes were not blinking.
Yeah.
Honestly, watch that 2020 interview and the difference between the Michelle Malkin interview where she's blinking like fucking your life depends on it to the 2021, it is completely different.
Yeah,
Interesting.
It really
yeah.
is.
That's a tell.
I can't help myself. I have to do this. I'm not gonna make it carry on very long, but I'm gonna just show you just a couple of minutes of this video.
Please do.
Because I can't help it. I just have to now. We've talked about it so much. So.
Oh my God.
Well, have you seen it? T1 says Kim Davis probably stole the little girl's shoes for her.
Oh my God. That's awful. But I just like her so much. He's probably right. I don't like it.
All right, when I share this screen, it's going to kick somebody out. I don't know who it's going to kick out, but just if whoever it is, just hang tight, and I'll let you back in a couple minutes when I turn it off.
Okay.
I don't pay for this, so
Okay.
Let's see here. Oh God, this is so painful to watch sometimes. Okay. All right, Galtaki, hopefully you're still here so you can get a little bit of
I thought you were showing Kim being compassionate.
Oh, hell no.
Okay.
Hi. I'm Michelle. Hi, nice to meet you. Hi, nice to meet you.
Right over here. And we'll go ahead and get you guys seated if you don't mind. And we'll do a couple things just to make sure the shop's ready to go. And then we can rock and roll. We know everyone has a busy day today. We don't want to hold you over. But and cell phones, everyone knows those, but on just vibrate or whatever you need to. Are you on the clock? Do you have everything on?
A little bit.
Okay.
A little bit.
I'm a little bit on the clock.
Yeah, brother.
Enforcing the law.
Elizabeth is the enforcer.
We will leave Thank you.
Look at Rocky acting all fake friendly.
He is so fake. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're nervous.
I don't even know how many.
Lincoln.
I will.
Winking, blinking, and nod. We'll just, I'll play just a minute or so of this and then I'll just forward in.
Because we had to take her over for a drug test. And
I'm Michelle.
Hi.
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 Hi. Nice to meet you too.
I'm like, hey, did you do this?
Oh, yeah.
So there's some blinking, a little bit of blinking, right? You know, I'm just gonna go forward. Like I said, it takes it about 7 minutes or so to get started.
It was I'm going to say it was the hardest case that I've ever worked. We've worked other serial rape cases that keep you up at night, and that you know, we try to take pride in doing the best that we can on every case. But this one was just different. And you know, you can't just work 8 hours a day on it and then leave it. I mean, we took it home. Our families dealt with it, which is kind of one of the reasons why we let our kids come into the courtroom and see, because they
Really?
can
That's interesting. How old were your kids when you let them in the courtroom?
18.
To watch
Mine's
us?
18.
Yeah. What are some of the adjectives that you'd use to describe Daniel Holtzclaw?
Narcissist.
Psychopath.
Evil.
God, it makes me sick.
He didn't think he did anything wrong.
He fucking didn't it?
Above these women, and therefore he didn't do anything wrong.
Did you know him before Ms. Liggins entered your world?
No.
And so the assessment of him
As
these words that you called him came from your years of experience in dealing with other serial rape defendants?
I say the adjectives come from dealing with victims and interviewing.
View of
No, his office was in the back on the east side of the building, so it was on the northeast corner of the building. And I went in that office. There's the video surveillance cameras and things like that. I don't even think there was a window in that office.
Rocky's
Sir,
face.
almost always involving a person upset over getting arrested. Did you get the sense when you were talking to her that she was upset about being pulled over?
No.
When you did the sit down,
Now, body language experts or behaviorists will tell you that when somebody says no, but nods their head yes, that they really mean what their head is nodding. That's just what I've heard.
Huh.
with Daniel Holtzclaw,
So,
he mentioned
Or woke my boyfriend up. My boyfriend woke my daughter up. And I think that happens in every case once we get to trial, because it's a year later. And that was a fast trial.
yeah.
Sometimes it's 4 years later. So,
Yeah.
but that happens.
Can I read something that this caught my eye? This was in the Oklahoman series that was done after the trial. And the writer describes basically your entree into the case. And it says, from experience, Davis knows this will probably come to nothing when I guess when you were first alerted to Janie Liggins being at the hospital. Almost once a month, it seems the department gets a complaint like this against an officer, almost always involving a person upset over getting to Janie Liggins being at the hospital. Almost once a month, it seems the department gets a complaint.
I'm just
So,
moving
I
around
just
here.
want to read the rest of this.
Now
because
she's
I
blinking.
think it's interesting. Davis knows that most of the allegations prove false. Almost always, it's an angry suspect looking to get out of jail or get back at what they perceive as an overly aggressive cop. Those are a couple of reasons that you said that somebody might make up these allegations, because there's been a refrain throughout this case of
Interviewed full blown when we did this interview. And then we said, no, that's not, we went out and called his girlfriend, said that's not true. And then he kind of changed his story. And then we went,
part to the allegations against him by Janie Liggins.
oh, nothing changed. He admitted to pulling her over. He admitted to putting her in the back. He admitted to everything that Janie said except the sexual assault.
Rocky's face.
And the forensic evidence
Dork.
that this assault occurred, that he had put his hands on the top roof, that she had her hands on the hood, did not exist. The forensic there's no forensic evidence to back up what she said.
Correct.
Okay.
And you still believe her, not him.
I do.
And is that because of the all of? I assume it's because of all the other women that
Uncomfortable.
became a
Yeah,
part
he
of this
is.
case.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. And some things that Jamie had said too. I mean, she described how he drove when, after he pulled her over, that was on video surveillance. And when you have one victim,
Bullshit.
I believe her. But we don't always get things done when you have one victim. But when you have 13, and the MO's the same, and the verbiage is the same, it just becomes a little bit more believable.
A couple more questions about some of the procedure with regard to Jamie Liggins, and then I do want to talk about the other women that had come forward. Was there a reason why you didn't take his cell phone?
Oh, here we go.
Yes.
I didn't see.
There was no reason to do that.
No. Well, take it for what?
Shit.
Look at who he called or what messages were on there. And no.
You're just looking at Janie because we only had Janie interviewed full blown when we did this interview. There was never any allegation or any comment that he got her number, that he called her, that she called him. There was nothing to analyze his phone for.
So you didn't take his phone. What about his underwear?
Didn't take it.
Why not?
Daniel said he had washed the underwear.
That's not what Daniel said.
No.
Had on the night previously.
And so you believed him that you believed that?
Yeah.
Blink.
Sense that he did what Jamie Liggins said that he did. But you believed him that he had washed his underwear.
I guess believe and hope. Most people change underwear, usually. But he had told us this is the same uniform. So we took the uniform.
We hoped he changed his
What about the other uniforms that were in his home?
Yeah.
Did you think you should have taken those?
No, because we didn't have other victims.
By the narcissistic, psychopath. Was part of your interaction with her to delve into that more deeply about changes in behavior over time that you know him and over the course of
search them and highlight and make copies, and that's how we started with our trying to find other women. And then we compared the log sheets of all the people complaints about him on the college campus, but there were
no signs of the kind of predatory behavior that he was accused of.
And some of the serial rapists we've worked in the past too. Clean background, nothing before.
Oh, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, bullshit. Rape is the thing we didn't do before to fucking not get records. Fuck off.
and was walking in an area over there where it seems like he picked up a lot of the girls. And he stopped her, and checked her. And then this question started, do you have anything on you that you need to tell me about? If I search you and I find something, I'll take you to jail. But if you tell me about it now, then we're good. Then he drove her to a school, which is where a couple of the assaults took place, a vacant school, and assaulted her orally and vaginally.
This is Sherry Ellis they're talking about.
So the first one was an alleged vaginal
sexual assault. Does that make sense? I mean, you kind of have to use a little common sense here.
Yeah, let's have some of that.
DNA.
I mean, that doesn't shock us. We have one enough.
Is it possible that there's an innocuous and completely non-nefarious reason that the 17-year-old's DNA was on his pants?
On the inside of his pants?
No.
No, no.
He
Did you
could
practice that one
went to the
day?
bathroom, put his hands down there.
No,
But
it's-
Were the pockets of the pants tested?
No.
Why
Why
not?
not? No.
Why?
What?
What?
Is it possible that the transfer of DNA cells from the 17-year-old to Daniel Holtzclaw came from random transfer or touch?
I have
transfer?
not worked one sexual assault case and had transferred DNA.
Not one.
Is it possible?
Bullshit.
Anything's possible. I would never say it's not possible.
Anything's possible. I wouldn't say it was possible. Anything's possible.
DNA cases. I've never been lucky and got transferred DNA. I mean, look at
I
for
looked
example,
at vagina.
going out, Janie was in the back of his car, and there's no fingerprints, and there's no transfer evidence of that. Transfer DNA is hard to get.
It is not that hard.
very rare do we have.
I've never had
Use
one.
DNA.
It's very rare.
I think it should be
Very
standard
rare.
to, but you tell them what you're looking for, and they narrow their testing based on what you tell them to look for.
Right. We tell them. You know, at the first we go, we're looking for DNA. Let's check the crotch area.
Mhm.
As things develop, we stay in contact with them. If a victim said, "Hey, test is, test the cuff," then we'll call them and say, "Hey, we've got a victim set."
In where?
Hall Valley.
Yeah, I'm not familiar. Is that
South
away?
It's an hour and a half away.
okay?
She had moved, and I think the lighting and the
Oh, let's back that up a little bit.
overhead
Street on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
So it shows him going to the end of the street, disappearing, then reappearing several minutes later on the other side.
Is there any other explanation other than that he sexually assaulted her, that he would have pulled up on to off that curb and gotten off the street?
not with her.
No,
I mean, no, there's no, especially
No.
male. Don't do that.
Okay, so there's only one explanation for why the GPS would show that he left the street, and that only explanation was that he was sexually assaulted.
Well, again, we were just verifying what she told us.
Yeah.
Just like on Terry's deal. Sherry says, picks me up here, goes up here.
Video
And
murder.
we always ask for a description.
Yeah.
Any victim, but we never follow it up.
Sure, I know, but I'm kind of exploring
I'm trying to get back to this question if I can.
for people who are looking to cash in.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so take me back to Sherry Ellis.
You interviewed her.
Yes.
We went out together.
Right.
Was that the first time we found that there was a school?
Yep.
Uh,
We had her drive us. This is where he
Why the hell is he looking at her?
and he
Because he
stopped
can't
her
function without her.
hurdles
No.
and he assaulted her.
Crazy.
She took us and then she said he stopped in his car right here, orally assaulted me. Then he turned here.
That's the game.
He's the motor mouse.
Yes, on our scout bar. We'll show on the street.
Michelle Malkin's going to ask him a question that's their attorney's going to object to.
Is there any other explanation other than that he sexually assaulted her, that he would have pulled up on to off that curb?
No.
Car and know that
Mhm.
without being in the car.
Mhm.
There's an explanation. If you didn't have, I'm sure there's guys that go up there and go to the bathroom. You know, but a male officer does not drive a female officer to an abandoned school and stay and not tell dispatch and not, there's no reason.
Unless he's sexually assaulting her? Is that what you're saying? There'd be no other reason. What if,
What if she wasn't in the car with her?
I know, but I'm still kind of exploring.
I also understand the tone this is taking, so it's.
Yeah.
I understand. You have us backed into a corner over here.
Daniel is a short black male.
Yes.
What was going on there, you think?
I think I think the lighting and the
For
the
fuck's
overhead
sake.
changed everything.
This is so
Everything
fucking preposterous.
and when you
Oh
go
my
to
God.
do that at night and turn on it changes the
Oh,
coloring
I'm gonna do it, bitch,
of
when I get to Oklahoma. Don't you worry.
people, and it washes out, and you just can't
What is
see.
the height?
No, she's a tall girl though.
Yeah.
She's a tall, thin girl.
Yeah, she is.
Uh,
She said
no,
he was way shorter.
You kind of think of the trauma.
Oh my God.
You gotta think of the trauma.
That expose her breast to an officer, and she tried to describe as best she could, and then I verified, it was Daniel. And that's kind of how it went. She did say no in the beginning, but it was because she didn't want her grandma to hear. And we
Did she tell you that?
When he shuts his eyes a lot. He shuts his eyes a lot and can't look Michelle in the face.
Yeah,
I know by
I just
I've
know.
done lots of interviews. I mean, a normal juror doesn't know the type of body language to look for and telling the truth.
He looks like a
lying,
clown.
like that. I'm just trying to relay what I see. And some of them they did. They split the baby on.
Oh yeah,
They
let me
split the baby.
let me go
'cause
back here just a little
We're
bit.
talking about anybody out there, even if they're not a rape victim, he shouldn't have any control. He shouldn't be out there. That's how I perceive it.
I see. So after all is said and done, you had 13 accusers. Half of the charges were rejected by the jury. Half. How would you respond
Look at his face.
the criticism that
Fuck is this story?
the jury just split the difference, and that would explain a lot of why some of these verdicts didn't seem to make sense?
Some of the I know that some of the not guilties. Like I know on Kayla, for example, when she testified, her order of event, there was oral and vaginal on Kayla. How she told it to me when she testified, she told it different. She thought the oral happened first, then she thought the vaginal happened, but then she thought, and so, and the defense attorney, who did an excellent job, brings out those
Inconsistencies.
so that puts a doubt in the jury's mind.
There's some debate
So
about
I think
that.
that they're more comfortable. Well, she can't remember the order of events, so we're going to find it not guilty. And I think that happens with a lot of the girls.
They studied. I mean, obviously, they studied each woman. They didn't take all 13 and just clump them together. They studied each case individually. And some of them they did. They split the baby on.
They split the baby.
Split the baby.
Is that justice?
Well, that's how they perceive.
Yeah, I mean, there's no telling. I wish I could have been a mouse in the room when the jury was, just to see.
It's a fucking fly on the wall, you fucking half-wit. No, I'm out in the room.
She's a fucking rodent anyway.
Yeah, they got those protesters out of there pretty fast when that started.
No, they didn't.
Got with the main lady for Arts of Justice, who's a phenomenal woman, and said, "Hey, this can create a problem." And she moved them out. She was a great liaison
For the community.
for the community.
Oh God, you've got to be kidding me.
I have two last questions, and then if there's anything else that you'd like to say that I hadn't asked about, I want to give you a chance to do that at the end. You mentioned talking to the jurors. There was one juror actually who made news, Ron Hill, for making a claim that he was told the prosecution had even more evidence than they presented. Do you recall that?
I'm trying to think which one wrong. What did he look like?
I don't
know.
Was he interviewed on TV?
Yes, this is after
the big guy.
This is afterwards, and he said, I believe he was called in to talk to the judge
She knows
about it. He
exactly
said,
who she's talking about.
he
Or she
said
does.
the prosecution told the jury in an effort to reassure them that they had made the right decision, that the prosecution had even more evidence than they presented.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I remember him getting called into the judge, but I don't think it was about that.
I know what you think.
I don't think it is about that. Well, what else would it be, you fucking idiot?
All right. If that had gone on radar, vaginal semen skin. That was the
Policy.
right. That's come up many times, but it's not the case that he did that routinely. And
they're talking about him
doing it routinely.
To also see kind of what we're seeing, what officers see too.
And just in terms of the policy with regard to crime labs and DNA, you had indeterminate DNA. In other words, you can't say whether it was vaginal semen skin. That was the 17-year-olds on the fly, correct? That has policy implications, not just for this particular cop, but for anybody. Because if it was the case that this was innocuous touch DNA or transfer DNA,
oh,
Well,
yeah, that's a glitch. Something happened in that video. But well, listen, so that's just a part. I mean, I just kind of skimmed through. I didn't have any particular places marked that I wanted to show you, but it's just an idea of kind of what the interview went like. But if you have the time to just sit and watch it start to finish like that and see the blinking and the changes and how that all plays out.
Lying.
The lying.
Galataki is, but how in the hell does that woman still have working eyelids?
Good point, Galataki. Good point. Oh.
I can see many fun-filled evenings talking to Gala about the Holtzclaw case.
All right. Yeah. And just with Kim Davis, you spend a long time just on that. Anyway, so yeah, there's just a little taste of that 2 or whatever hours, something like that, interview goes. And
I'm
then
curious. I have one more question about. I know that Michelle asked a question about how did she explain these witnesses saying that this was a short black man.
The
what
lighting.
did Kim say?
Lighting.
Well, I know but yeah, she said lighting. But is there any other place that we know of that she talks about this very same thing, or is this the only real?
In Sherry's case, or in any of the accusers?
Any of them specifically. I mean, does she talk about in any other capacity like this on video, or even in another scenario where she's talking about how she explains besides, or does she say lighting every other time? She's trying to say, oh, well, it was lighting that threw it off. Come on.
I feel like that is the explanation that they decided to go with, much like the blonde hair lighting.
Right.
That
and mixed with the trauma of the events.
I'll have to think about that as I'm going through and see if there are anything else. Right offhand, I can't think of anything.
I didn't think so.
Another place where she.
Right.
I have a question. Sorry, Jack, you weren't done.
I was just going to agree with Doc. What he said there, they're extremely disturbing interview. It really was terrible.
It really is.
Go ahead, Susan.
Oh, I was just curious. Is there anywhere that we can read his appeal and the decision?
Yes.
Where's that at?
I think it's in Daniel's Truth in the K. Parnell Sanders room.
Yeah, I think it is too.
Okay.
But we'll
But if it's, I'll look and see. I'm almost sure it's there, but if it's not, I'll send you a link.
Yeah, I think it is, because I
Appreciate
think I
that.
was looking at it earlier. I think
Yeah.
it is in Kay's room.
yeah, it's in, yeah.
So does he have the same lawyers now that he had for his appeal?
No.
Okay.
No.
No.
Yeah, no, I don't know where. I don't know. Oh, Hankins is his name. And he's from Oklahoma.
So was he a what do you call it? Given to him by the court?
The first, I get the first attorney mixed up with the second attorney. Hang on, let me look at something and come back to that.
Yeah.
Carry on with your conversation.
Well, Doc says, what? The blue Rav was really green due to lighting on wait.
Right.
What? Yeah, it is that freaking jacked up for sure. No, it's just insane. Yeah, it's ludicrous what.
Plus, it was a shorter Rav. It wasn't the same height.
Right.
The short blue Rav instead of a tall green one.
That's right, for sure.
Think of the first attorney's name, but Jim Hankins is his current attorney.
Oh, okay.
Right. Doug Johnson.
No, Doug Johnson and Kathleen Zollner, they did some depositions and worked
The civil case.
mostly on the civil thing. Yeah. They pulled out, I mean, there are a few depositions yet to be done, but Kathleen, I think Daniel's deposition was the last deposition that they did.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm positive about that, but
T1 says, "Ma'am was just a gateway drug to more addictions, Doc."
No shit.
Exactly.
You nailed it there, T1.
Yeah.
That is for real. Yeah, that's funny. Oh yes, it is so hard, and to, I remember when I first started, I thought, well, I'll just start with Janie Liggins from the beginning, and I'll just go through them. And you can't do that because
what did I say at the beginning? You jump in these, and I nailed it. Because you jumped into Janie Liggins, and then what did that lead to?
Hell.
That's what I'm saying. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's just I mean, it's just it's hard to. You can't just do that. You can't. I mean, I remember Stephen and Brendan's case. Those two cases being so difficult to get into, and thinking, wow, this is, because of all the lies and all the planting, and when did all those things. And I remember thinking that, but I had no idea. I had no idea that that this case was going to be even more times 13 what Stephen and Brendan's cases were. And it is not just as easy as starting with one accuser and then just going from there. You can't. And so that's why I'm committed to just really trying to do my very best to give each accuser, as we, when I get back probably in a couple of weeks, get back to doing, accuser timeline presentations. I really want to, initially we all three talked about, well, let's, we should be able to get this one done in an hour. And I'd be like, yeah, we can get, and then we would start going through it. And you saw us go through Terry Morris. It took us podcast to get through her story. And we didn't even give as much detail as you really should have had. And Sherry Ellis, I thought, well, we'll get through Sherry Ellis in one, and we just couldn't do it. You just can't do it. And so I've just resigned myself to the fact that each accuser is going to be a minimum of 2 separate podcasts. There's just no other way of doing it and doing it justice.
Yeah, that's what I liked about
So,
Brian Bates' podcast.
That's yes, he's
The
much
fact
better.
that he goes through the allegations and everything like that, and then the next episode he breaks it down and puts it into his point of view and points out different things. And I thought that was brilliant how Brian Bates done his podcast.
Yeah, it is excellent.
He really did do a much better job. But he has a little more experience, and we have more visual aids that, I'm very visual, so hopefully visual presentations help. The slides, Kay and Cherie are doing excellent with the slides for the timeline, and getting a lot of good information on those slides. So that is really where the best information is to be found. So, as far as us doing our podcast, but there's just just so much to it that I feel like I can do this for the next 5 years easily, and still not really give as much information as there really is, to share. So that's why I'm always saying, go check out Bates' podcast and check out Daniel in the Den, and because there's so much. You really need those things to kind of get you into, so that our podcast is a little bit easier to follow or makes a little more sense. I hope that's the plan. So
yeah, it definitely does, especially for newcomers. If newcomers are just starting to come, it's ideal coming into here because you break it down as well, you know what I mean, and you have went through each one and everything like that, and as you say, you start on one wee thing and then the conversation goes on and on and on, and it's just rabbit hole after rabbit hole, like Jack says.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Yeah, so it just, and we're just going to keep doing it, and keep giving the information, giving the truth, just like we do in the man community, giving the truth about Daniel's case. And so that's our plan. That's my goal. That's my whole intention from getting involved with Daniel's case to start with. So we welcome all of you to get involved as well. If there's something that you're, particularly good at, if you're good at DNA, for instance, if you know about DNA, then feel free to jump in and help us out. And if you're good at just basic, just doing research and digging and newspapers, and, now we're kind of, a part of our rabbit hole problem is we're getting names that we're seeing coming up, that involve Prater or Giger or Davis or Gregory or, any number. And so we start looking back at, well, what is this story about? Because I think that if you look back at some of their other investigations or their other cases that they may have tried, and we're learning in Death and Justice that we're reading that you look at some other cases, and I'm seeing names popping up now in my research for Daniel's case that we're reading about in Death and Justice. So that's what you have to do. You have to go back and find where the dirt started, where the dirt got, where the hole got dug, I guess. So that's kind of what we're doing right now. Well, you keep saying that stuff, T1, and so one of these days I'm gonna have to get you on a podcast to say something somewhere, and it might as well be mine, right? something you're new at. You don't know anything about the case, so you need to come on like Susan, Jack, and Alice, and just dive in and start asking the questions. So much easier that way. Dr. Silkman says, my therapist said, Dr. Silky, you're addicted. I changed therapist. Problem solved. Good. That's amazing. Good idea. That's a good plan. I like that.
I've never had a
right.
therapist before, but I think after Daniel and Brendan's case and Daniel's case, I think I might need to go and see one.
I know. Just can you imagine going in, like, for real, going into a therapist and saying, telling them what your problem is?
I know.
I can just see them looking at you going, is this a joke? Are there cameras?
Yeah, or they would hand you a card and say, you need to call this number. There'll be some nice gentlemen in white jackets be by in a minute.
Excuse me, I just got to go out to the front office and pick something up. I'll be right back.
Or if the song "They're Coming to Take Me Away" starts playing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I haven't heard that forever. Thanks a lot. That's awesome. I love those memories. All right. Oh my goodness. Are there any more questions or comments or feelings? Feelings. Nothing more than feelings. Oh God. So
No.
isn't that amazing? And I haven't even had anything to drink. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, this has been a blast. It's been a lot of fun. Very relaxed and laid back, and no preparation, no stress on my end.
I have a feeling.
So you have okay. And what's your feeling, Jack?
Let's do it again.
Let's do it again. Absolutely. Let's do it again. We'll probably do it again next Tuesday because, like I said, we're not planning any presentations of accusers for a little bit. So, yeah, love to have you guys back on next Tuesday.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can work it out and you want to do it again, I think we can carry on another couple hours very easily. So, Jack, your job is to get Galataki caught up so that he knows what we're talking about.
God. Only that. Only that. Only that.
No
Yeah,
big deal. Yeah.
No problem. No problem. Yeah, I'll talk to him. I'll get him.
Yeah.
I'll get him refreshed and as much relevant. Yeah, I'll get him as much relevant things so he can really kind of understand. And hopefully, between now and then, he'll have time to watch the full interview of what you showed there.
Right. Yeah.
That would really give him a lot of good information.
Yes. Yes.
And to anyone really new out there. So.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely things you can pull from to help him at least know a little bit more what we're talking about. And I can just imagine hearing all this for the first time. I don't know. I'm really grateful that he's your son and he knows a lot of this already from foul play, because otherwise, somebody might check in on this stuff and go, oh my God, just click right out. Brad.
So, these people need help. These people need help. Let me get some names from these guys and get them some help real quick.
Yeah.
But looking at the broader picture of wrongful conviction, which Dr. Soapman says he's not addicted. Yeah, me neither. Okay, doc. And T1, and Rhonda and the rest of us. It's a real problem. This as a whole I think from the criminal justice system that's been taking a hold of people that have ill intent. If our criminal justice system worked like it's supposed to work, we probably wouldn't know each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Think of that. And then what we're leaving for the next generation. It needs to be fucking fixed.
Yes.
I second that.
So,
yeah.
But I'll catch him up
absolutely.
and let's do it again. It's a lot of fun.
Okay, set your calendars, put it on your, set your watch. We're doing this again next Tuesday. So you've got plenty of notice to come back with great questions. Not that your questions haven't already been great. It's been really, really awesome. So keep that coming, because I'm really pleased that we had as much response in the chat tonight with questions and participation. So and then having Alice and Susan and Jack on with us, been great. I really appreciate you guys agreeing to come on with us. And Susan, I'm so glad that you got home from work a little early so that you could jump right on with us too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really nice. Does anybody have any last words that they want to say before we shut it down for the night and plan for next week? Oh my gosh, hold on one second. Hold on. I know, sorry, that was really rude. I have to, okay. So Dr. Silkman, we were talking about, possible, that the fact that there were no other suspects investigated. And so I kept saying, well, I think that Alexander Edwards should have been a Denny suspect, and Jeff Sellers a Denny suspect, or they didn't investigate any Denny suspects. And so Cherie, I think you all know Cherie is a defense attorney, and so I don't remember how it came about, but she said, well, we got to find out what it is in Oklahoma, what a Denny is in Oklahoma. And I said, what do you mean what a Denny is in Oklahoma? It's a Denny. A Denny's a Denny, right? She said, well, that's a Wisconsin case, so it's probably different in Oklahoma. Well, then, oh my fucking God, we were on an all day long mission to find out what the equivalent of a Denny suspect is in Oklahoma. Well, Cherie finally got to just, found a case that would equal it. And so in Oklahoma, it's a Gore suspect. I said, no, that can't work. We have to use Denny. I just can't call it a Gore. They need to investigate Gore suspects. So we're going to just call them Denny's anyway, because that's what makes more sense to me. So, thank you for saying that, Dr. Silkman.
It's interesting that most states have kind of the same kind of scenario in each of their states, but it's not called a Denny.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
That's right. But Brady is Brady. Brady's a Brady. So that's
federal.
Yeah, that's a federal case. So Brady's a Brady, and thank God I don't have to find a Brady equivalent in Oklahoma, because finding the Denny equivalent was rough. So, well, it was rough for me. Cherie did all the work, but anyway. So again, we're going to come back and do this again next week. I'm super excited. Now I will not cut off anybody anymore. If you have anything else you'd like to say before we go, Alice, anything else you'd like to say?
Just thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure, and thanks to everyone in chat. And I'll see you all next week.
All right, thank you, Alice and Susan.
Thanks so much. It was awesome being here. I look forward to next week.
Thank you for coming on. We're really excited to have you. And Jack, you even get to say some last words before we go.
Oh, thanks so much for DMing me and asking me to come on. I'm always glad to help out if I can, and yeah, let's do it again.
Okay, all right, you guys heard it. So next Tuesday night, 6 p.m. Central, and we're all going to be back here, and keep coming with your questions, and we will do our very best to answer them. Until then, peace out, everybody.